Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Mr. Pad Paramahansa, Bhagavad-gita, Ashtotar the Shri Srimad Divine Grace, Sri A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa, Bhagavad-gita, Ashtotar the Shri Srimad Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki jai. All glories to the sum of the devotees. All glories to the sum of the devotees. All glories to the sum of the devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 12th day of February 2020 in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are beginning a new chapter today entitled The Opulence of the Absolute. This is chapter 10, text number 1, page 419. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Bhuya Eva Mahabaho Shunu Me Paramang Vachaha Yatteham Priyamanaya Vakshami Hitakamyaya. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Bhuya Eva Mahabaho Shunu Me Paramang Vachaha Yatteham Priyamanaya Vakshami Hitakamyaya. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Bhuya Eva Mahabaho Shunu Me Paramang Vachaha Yatteham Priyamanaya Vakshami Hitakamyaya. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Bhuya Eva Mahabaho Shanu me paramam vachaha yatteham priyamanaya vakshami hitakamya. Word by words. Sri Bhagavan Vacha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Bhuyaha, again, Eva, certainly, Mahabaho, O mighty armed one, Shinu, just hear, me, my, Paramam, supreme, Vachaha, instruction, yat, that which, te, to you, aham, I, priyamanaya, thinking you dear to me, vakshyami, say, hitakamyaya, for your benefit. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Listen again, O mighty armed Arjun, because you are my dear friend. For your benefit I shall speak to you further, giving knowledge that is better than what I have already explained. Purport. The word Bhagavan is explained thus by Parashara Muni. One who is full in 6 opulences, who has full strength, full fame, wealth, knowledge, beauty, and renunciation, is Bhagavan, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. While Krishna was present on this earth, he displayed all 6 opulences. Therefore, great sages like Parashara Muni have all accepted Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, Krishna is instructing Arjuna in more confidential knowledge of his opulences and his work. Previously, beginning with the 7th chapter, the Lord has already explained his different energies and how they are acting. Now, in this chapter, he explains his specific opulences to Arjuna. In the previous chapter, he has clearly explained his different energies to establish devotion in firm conviction. Again, in this chapter, he tells Arjuna about his manifestations and various opulences. The more one hears about the Supreme God, the more one becomes fixed in devotional service. One should always hear about the Lord in the association of devotees. That will enhance one's devotional service. Discourses in the society of devotees can take place only among those who are really anxious to be in Krishna consciousness. Others cannot take part in such discourses. The Lord clearly tells Arjuna that because Arjuna is very dear to him, for his benefit, such discourses are taking place. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So this chapter is entitled The Opulence of the Absolute. Vibhuti Yoga. Vibhuti means Krishna's glories, his opulences, which are infinite. But the whole point is, how can we see Krishna in this world? And we've already had some instruction of that in the 7th chapter, Srila Prabhupada has pointed out, 9th chapter also. And in this chapter, Krishna expands more on that. And he'll say things like, of bodies of water, I am the ocean. Of all the different fish, aquatics, I am the shark. Of mountains, I'm the Himalayas. The manifestations in this world that possess some special opulence or power or beauty, we're meant to see Krishna through that he's manifesting a fraction of his power and glory in the things of this world. And this is an additional way, and that's another way of seeing him. Just by understanding this, hearing this, then it changes the way we see the world, and we can see Krishna in this world. So this is part of the chapter. Now, the beginning of the chapter culminates in text 8 to 11, which I've mentioned several times, are said to be the core verses of the Bhagavad Gita. So we're going to hear that, and they have extensive purports quoting from the Upanishads and so forth. So, we read this verse yesterday, and we can go on with further reading here. Name vidu suragana prabhavang namaharshiyaha ahamadi devanam maharshinam chasarvashaha. Neither the hosts of demigods nor the great sages know my origin or opulences, for in every respect I am the source of the demigods and sages. Purport. As stated in the Brahma Samhita, Lord Krishna is the Supreme Lord. No one is greater than him. He is the cause of all causes. Here it is also stated by the Lord personally that he is the cause of all the demigods and sages. Even the demigods and great sages cannot understand Krishna. They can understand neither his name nor his personality. So what is the position of the so-called scholars of this tiny planet? No one can understand why this supreme God comes to earth as an ordinary human being and executes such wonderful, uncommon activities. One should know, then, that scholarship is not the qualification necessary to understand Krishna. Even the demigods and the great sages have tried to understand Krishna by their mental speculation, and they have failed to do so. In the Srimad Bhagavatam also, it is clearly said that even the great demigods are not able to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They can speculate to the limits of their imperfect senses and can reach the opposite conclusion of impersonalism, of something not manifested by the three qualities of material nature. Or they can imagine something by mental speculation, but it is not possible to understand Krishna by such foolish speculation. Here the Lord indirectly says that if anyone wants to know the absolute truth, here I am present as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I am the Supreme. One should know this. Although one cannot understand the inconceivable Lord who is personally present, he nonetheless exists. We can actually understand Krishna, who is eternal, full of bliss and knowledge, simply by studying his words in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. The conception of God as some ruling power or as the impersonal Brahman can be reached by persons who are in the inferior energy of the Lord. But the personality of Godhead cannot be conceived unless one is in the transcendental position. Because most men cannot understand Krishna in his actual situation, out of his causeless mercy he descends to show favor to such speculators. Yet despite the Supreme Lord's uncommon activities, these speculators, due to contamination in the material energy, still think that the impersonal Brahman is the Supreme. Only the devotees who are fully surrendered unto the Supreme Lord can understand, by the grace of the Supreme Personality, that he is Krishna. The devotees of the Lord do not bother about the impersonal Brahman conception of God. Their faith and devotion bring them to surrender immediately unto the Supreme Lord, and out of the causeless mercy of Krishna, they can understand Krishna. No one else can understand him. So even great sages agree. What is Atma? What is the Supreme? It is he whom we have to worship. So this theme, as repeated in the Bhagavad Gita in various places, Prabhupada was fond of quoting often the verse in the 18th chapter, Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavanyas chasmi tattvataha, that I can only be understood as I am in truth through bhakti. Why is that? Because Krishna is so powerful that he can easily cover our knowledge or just reveal a part of it. So it all depends on what we call descending knowledge, not by our efforts, but by our prayer and devotion and surrender. Krishna reveals himself proportionately. And really the most favored of the devotees are the ones who he doesn't reveal himself fully. His glory and his power and his majesty and his, kind of frightening. I mean, you realize how scary he is. The demons realize in the form of Nrsingadev. But when you contemplate just how powerful Krishna is, and you don't have a personal conception of the all attractive and merciful quality of Krishna, then it all becomes fear and trembling, before God. And some religions regard that. He's a vengeful God, and he's smiting and smoting, as Bhagavad Maharaj would say. So that we don't want to approach Krishna out of fear. In fact, he mentions in the 4th chapter of the Adi Leela, Krishna's Kaviraj, he's giving us insight into Krishna's thoughts before he comes 5,000 years ago, and before he comes again 500 years ago as Lord Chaitanya. And so there Krishna is directly saying that when my mother chastises me, that steals my mind away from the hymns of the Vedas. In other words, the official worship of Krishna as the glory, this is all very wonderful. You've seen maybe or heard, they have recordings of this everywhere in the YouTube now, of the Brahmins, South Indian Brahmins chanting, It's very impressive and, awe-inspiring. Very precise pronunciation and certain cadence and all these things, But Krishna is really attracted by love. And that can only be there through the process of bhakti yoga, training and contemplating him in his all-attractive feature. If you don't believe that that's the supreme feature, and you think that the forearm feature is supreme, or the Brahman is supreme, then you've cut yourself off from the bhakti. So Krishna is bhaktyama. By bhakti, I can be known in truth, because he reveals himself as he is. He says that several times to Arjuna. Idam tade guyatamam pravakshamanu suyave. He began the last chapter with this verse. I'm telling you the most confidential secrets about me now, because you're not envious. You're my friend, because you love me. Therefore, I'll reveal myself. It's just natural. But it's often missed by the mental speculators and the meditators. It's like you commit yourself to that, and you've gone through all these austerities, and you've experienced maybe some powers and some insights and astral travel and all this, and you don't want to feel that you've wasted your time, that this is not the way to really understand God. And so you blocked yourself off from the simple, sincere activities of bhakti, bowing down, realizing that we're completely helpless, we don't know anything. Please reveal yourself to me so I can, like the in Ishopanishad. Ishopanishad is a famous prayer. Hidanmayena patrena satyasyapi tam mukham tattam pushana pavanu satyadhamaya drishtiye. He's praying to the Lord to please remove this glaring effulgence, this Brahman effulgence, which is covering your beautiful face. In other words, I can't penetrate it on my own. You have to reveal yourself and remove it so that I can see your beautiful face. So anyway, Krishna is describing his relationship to the gods. They cannot understand me. Suragana, the great rishis and learned sages, because I have created them. They're all emanations from me. They can understand me to whatever degree they surrender in bhakti. That's the whole idea. So, Prabhupada is making that point. They can speculate to the limits of their imperfect senses and reach the opposite conclusion of impersonalism. This has been fixed. There's various little anomalies in this book, in this edition of the Bhagavad Gita. This edition is now, is it a decade old? Because we're constantly finding little things here. Okay, this is now 7 years old. So they can speculate to the limits of their imperfect senses, can reach the opposite conclusion of impersonalism. It's not that they're reaching the opposite conclusion of impersonalism. The opposite conclusion of impersonalism is personalism. That's what Prabhupada is saying here. They can reach the opposite conclusion of the variegatedness of materialism, which is impersonalism, or of something not manifested by the three qualities of material nature. This is the big fallacy of the impersonalists. They know that our material bodies, which seem to be what personhood is all about, are causes of great suffering, birth and death, old age and disease. So therefore, mukti must mean that we don't have a body. We don't have these senses. The senses just bring us trouble. The mind just brings us trouble. So this is the opposite. They can come to the conclusion of the opposite of the variegatedness of material life. And the conclusion is impersonalism, no variegatedness, just homogeneous white light. That's their vast mistake. And by doing that, it's actually born of envy of Krishna. Because, they want to be God. They don't want to serve God. It's as simple as that. So, but that completely cuts them off. They can imagine something, but it is not possible to understand Krishna by such foolish speculation. He reserves the right of being hidden. He doesn't reveal himself to these, envious speculators. So that's the glory of bhakti, is that you really have to take a humble position. And Lord Chaitanya's pastimes show that. He Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Prakashananda Saraswati, he converted them. They were both extremely intelligent scholars who had gone on the impersonal side. Prakashananda had thousands of followers. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was head of the temple, and he was a leading impersonalist in Puri at the time. But he wasn't an out-and-out Mayavadi. And he had the great fortune of seeing Lord Chaitanya when he first came to Puri. He entered the temple, the big temple with Jagannath. We have our little Jagannaths here. Imagine Jagannaths 10 feet tall. They're on the altar. So Lord Chaitanya, he comes into the temple, and he immediately faints in ecstasy, in samadhi, And the guards had seen it all before. People come in there and they pretend to be in ecstasy, and so they're ready to kick him out or beat him and then kick him out of the temple. And Sarva says, no, wait. He looked like it might be authentic, So he doesn't seem to be any movement in his chest, and he starts to panic. Oh my God, maybe he just died right here, But he knows. So he took a little piece of cotton and he puts up to his nostrils, and there's a little piece of breath there. There's this must be this high samadhi. So he looks. He's only like 24 years old, and he's very attractive, tall and golden complexion, and a sannyasi dress, shaved up. And so he has him brought to his home. He feels like a father to him, And eventually, Lord Chaitanya's companions catch up to him. He came all the way from Bengal because his mother begged him to set up in Puri so that she would get some news for him. Otherwise, he was just going to Vrindavan. He wasn't eating or anything. 3 days he went. So then they tricked him to come back into Shantipur, and they had a festival every night, and his mother came, and he was crying. And he says, "Oh, mother, I took this sannyas, out of madness, I'm so sorry." But she realized that now it would be, very disgraceful for him to give it up, He was ready to do whatever she said. That's what he said. So she said, "Okay, you just make your headquarters Jagannath Puri, which is fairly close by, relatively." And she said, "I'll get some news from you, So he started toward Vrindavan, and then he came back, and then he went to Puri. And along with Nityananda, and Gadadhar was with him, and several others. So there's all kinds of adventures along the way, which I won't mention. But one of them was that he was, I forget what he was doing. He wasn't bathing. Maybe he was just dancing in ecstasy, chanting. But he gave his sannyas rod, the rod they carry sometimes, you've seen, to Nityananda for safekeeping. Nityananda broke it in 3 pieces and threw it in a river. So there's a deep reason for that, Why does God need a sannyas rod, But anyway, so Lord Chaitanya pretended to be angry, and he said, you can go ahead of me, or I'm going ahead of you, but I'm not staying with you anymore. We're going, he was pretending to be angry. So he said, "Okay, you go ahead." So he went very quickly. So he reached Puri ahead of them, and he got into the temple, and I explained, he fell down in ecstasy and samadhi. So Sarvabhauma took him to his home, was caring for him. And then the devotees came in, they were looking for Lord Chaitanya, and they heard that what happened, and they went to Sarvabhauma's house. So they began to chant Hare Krishna in his ear, loudly. And after some time, he woke up and he started dancing and everything. Anyway, so Sarvabhauma then, he wanted to reinitiate Lord Chaitanya into another Vaishnava sannyas group, because the one he was in was not the highest. And then he somehow or other he agreed. He decided that, let me teach you Vedanta. This is what this is. Because Lord Chaitanya was initiated, there were no sannyasis, Vaishnava sannyasis as we know them today. Because when the Vaishnavas would renounce, they would take Babaji. It was called Babaji. They weren't traveling and preaching. They just went to Vrindavan. And back to Madhavendra Puri, he was traveling, but he wasn't the traditional sannyasi. The official sannyas was taken in the Mayavad Sampradaya. So he took it from Keshava Bharati, he was Mayavad. But Lord Chaitanya wasn't a Mayavadi, so there was some confusion there when he went to Varanasi. Instead of studying Vedanta, because this is what they do, all day they study the Vedanta Sutra with the Shankaracharya's impersonal Sharika Bhashya commentary. Lord Chaitanya wasn't doing any of that. He was just going out and doing Harinam and chanting and dancing, with his associates and some others. So Prakashananda was very critical. He started blaspheming. He said, "What is this? It's sentimental sannyasi. He's one of us, but he's not studying with us, you know." So Lord Chaitanya wasn't associating with him, but his disciples, his associates, were saying, "We can't take this blasphemy. We're going to jump in the river and commit suicide. It's too much." So he next time he got an invitation, he accepted the invitation to go see the sannyasis, the Mayavadis. Anyway, it's a long story. It's told I don't know if you read it. You read it, right? In chapter 7, Adi Leela. Yes, he gave him the personalist understanding of the Vedanta Sutra, converted them all, and they he completely transformed Varanasi. So a similar thing happened with just Sarvabhauma. Sarvabhauma was teaching him Vedanta, and Lord Chaitanya agreed to listen. So for 9 days, I think it was, 10 days. He's just sitting and listening. There's a nice painting of that. He's like, okay, I'm listening. But then he wasn't asking any questions, wasn't making any comment. So after all that time, Sarvabhauma said, "Well, are you understanding what I'm saying? You don't ask any questions." He says, "I understand the Vedanta Sutra perfectly well, but your explanations are covering the actual meaning." So Sarvabhauma said, what's your understanding? So then he started giving him the actual, just like he did in Varanasi later. And Sarvabhauma was completely won over, and then he revealed his six-arm form. There's a six-arm form? You know the six-arm form? Six-arm form is two hands, he's playing the flute. 2 hands, he's holding a bow and arrow as Ram. The flute is Krishna. And with 2 hands, he's got the sannyas rod and the water pot, Kamandalu, as Lord Chaitanya. So he's got the 3 manifestations in one. And Sarvabhauma faded in ecstasy, he became a great devotee. So this is how they get the revelation, is by devotion, not by speculation. That's the whole idea. Okay, text 3. Yomam ajamanarim cha veti loka maheshwaram asamudha samarteshu sarva papai pramuchate. He who knows me as the unborn, as the beginningless, as the supreme Lord of all the worlds, he only, undiluted among men, is freed from all sins. Purport. As stated in the 7th chapter, 7.3, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yadati siddhaye. Those who are trying to elevate themselves to the platform of spiritual realization are not ordinary men. They are superior to millions and millions of ordinary men who have no knowledge of spiritual realization. But out of those actually trying to understand their spiritual situation, one who can come to the understanding that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the proprietor of everything, the unborn, is the most successful spiritually realized person. In that stage only, when one has fully understood Krishna's supreme position, one can be free completely from all sinful reactions. Here the Lord is described by the word Aja, meaning unborn. But he is distinct from the living entities who are described in the 2nd chapter as Aja. The Lord is different from the living entities who are taking birth and dying due to material attachment. The conditioned souls are changing their bodies, but his body is not changeable. Even when he comes to this material world, he comes as the same unborn. Therefore, in the 4th chapter, it is said that the Lord, by his internal potency, is not under the inferior material energy, but is always in the superior energy. In this verse, the words Veti Loka Maheshwaram indicate that one should know that Lord Krishna is the supreme proprietor of the planetary systems of the universe. He was existing before the creation, and he is different from his creation. All the demigods were created within this material world, but as far as Krishna is concerned, it is said that he is not created. Therefore, Krishna is different even from the great demigods like Brahma and Shiva. And because he is the creator of Brahma, Shiva, and all the other demigods, he is the supreme person of all planets. Shri Krishna is therefore different from everything that is created, and anyone who knows him as such immediately becomes liberated from all sinful reactions. One must be liberated from all sinful activities to be in the knowledge of the Supreme Lord. Only by devotional service can he be known, and not by any other means, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita. That's this verse I was mentioning. Bhakti Mama Vijanati. Prabhupada was quoting it here, or citing it. One should not try to understand Krishna as a human being. As stated previously, only a foolish person thinks him to be a human being. This is again expressed here in a different way. A man who is not foolish, who is intelligent enough to understand the constitutional position of the Godhead, is always free from all sinful reactions. If Krishna is known as the son of Devaki, then how can he be unborn? That is also explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. When he appeared before Devaki and Vasudeva, he was not born as an ordinary child. He appeared in his original form, and then he transformed himself into an ordinary child. Anything done under the direction of Krishna is transcendental. It cannot be contaminated by material reactions, which may be auspicious or inauspicious. The conception that there are things auspicious and inauspicious in the material world is more or less a mental concoction, because there's nothing auspicious in the material world. Everything is inauspicious because the very material nature is inauspicious. We simply imagine it to be auspicious. Real auspiciousness depends on activities in Krishna consciousness, in full devotion and service. Therefore, if we at all want our activities to be auspicious, then we should work under the directions of the Supreme Lord. Such directions are given in authoritative scriptures such as Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, or from a bona fide spiritual master. Because the spiritual master is the representative of the Supreme Lord, his direction is directly the direction of the Supreme Lord. The spiritual master, saintly persons, and scriptures direct in the same way. There is no contradiction in these three sources. All actions done under such direction are free from the reactions of pious or impious activities of this material world. The transcendental attitude of the devotee in the performance of activities is actually that of renunciation, and this is called sannyas. As stated in the first verse of the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, one who acts as a matter of duty because he has been ordered to do so by the Supreme Lord, and who does not seek shelter in the fruits of his activities, anashrita karma palam, is a true renouncer. Anyone acting under the direction of the Supreme Lord is actually a sannyasi and a yogi, and not the man who has simply taken the dress of the sannyasi or a pseudo-yogi. So, Krishna is not being vain here. He's chanting his own glories because for our benefit. And he's saying, anyone who knows me to be unborn, to be without a beginning, who is the Lord of all the universes, all the planets, who is not bewildered, such a mortal is freed of all sinful reactions. So this is, the great benediction and benefit of reading the Bhagavad Gita. If we have faith in the words of Krishna, then we get free from sinful reaction, we become pious, and we can actually progress in devotional service. As it said at the end of the 7th chapter, Yesham dvandakatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandamohane mukta bhajantim ham jadavatha. In the previous verse, Krishna is saying that everyone who comes in this material world, who is in this material world, is overwhelmed by the dualities of desire and repulsion, desire and hate. Ichcha dvesha samotena. Dvandva moha. This gives rise to this sense of duality. As Prabhupada just explained here, quoting the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Chaitanya says, Badra, the idea that there are auspicious and inauspicious things here is just a mental concoction, because the whole material world is inauspicious, in that its whole purpose is to keep us bound here. In other words, it's a reformatory, and Maya Devi Durga Devi is the chief jailkeeper, But she's a servant of Krishna, and if we do the right thing, we can get out. It's not like some of these prisons where they just condemn them, forever. It's not like that. This is it's a prison house with, we've been here for how many millions of years, we don't know. But we can get out by this means, by understanding Krishna by the right means and then serving him. So, Prabhupada quotes Manushyanam Sastreshu that in the 7th chapter it said only a very few people even try to achieve any of this, Their illusion is so all-encompassing that the very conception of spiritual life, eternal life, even God, in a real sense, or the understanding that I can know God in detail, it's not in the offing. And so it says, out of many millions, sahasreshu kaschid yadati, out of many thousands and millions, one strive. Prabhupada says millions and millions have no knowledge of the spiritual. And those who try to understand, very few can come to understand that Krishna is the Supreme Godhead, the proprietor of everything, the unborn, and the most effectively realized. So it's very rare to come to this, because we have to overcome thousands of births of conditioning and illusion. But by Lord Chaitanya's mercy and Lord Krishna's mercy, the method of purification is also very easy in this age. If we chant, we don't realize the power of that holy name to eradicate lifetimes of sinful reactions and draw us personally to Krishna. The name Krishna is most personal. It means all attractive. Now, part of that attraction is His majesty and glory. That's explained in the first purport. What is the definition of God? Of the Bhagavad. The word God is really kind of weak tea. It doesn't really say much. God just means supreme controller, basically. But Bhagavan means the possessor of these six opulences. Aishwaryasya samagrasya viryasya yashashakshriya jnana vairagyayoschaiva shannam bhaga itingana. This is Parashara Muni's verse that Prabhupada refers to here in the first purport. So, Aishwaryasya. Now that word Aishwarya is interesting because it means wealth, mostly in context. But you can see that it comes, with a little understanding, from the word Ishvara, means controller. Everyone's aware there's guys who, billionaires and multi-millionaires, and we're just struggling to pay our rent. But with that money comes so much control, especially when you have a corrupt Supreme Court that says it's all right, you can put as much money in, and spend as much money on your candidate. Money is just a type of free speech. Great. So now, these politicians are being bought left and right. It's corruption. But money is power. Money is an energy, that you can use to do so many things, obviously. So Krishna has all of it. It all belongs to Him. So we're thieves. The ones who are the big billionaires, they're just bigger thieves. Isn't it? They're claiming it's mine. I can control it. Our old friend Bill Gates, he bought a 500 million pound yacht. That's more than $500 million. That's like $600 million. $600 million yacht. It runs on hydrogen, not on gas or something. It's obscene. It's like, such a waste. What we could do with $600 million, build so many temples, Anyway, so they're pretend gods, but they have, they're mortal. They're going to dragged off, and all the money is going to stay here. They get nothing. So, but Krishna really is the Maheshwaram, those who know that I am, the Lord of everything, who know that I am unborn, without beginning. Such a non-muda, such a wise person is free of all sin. So remember, this chapter is all about His vibhutis, which means His glories, His majesty, and everything. So each verse is dealing with that mostly. Know the Lord is supreme proprietor of planetary systems. This is the first verse or mantra of the Ishopanishad. Ishavashimidam sarvam yat kinchit jagatyam jagat. Whatever exists in this world and the universe is all under control by the Supreme Lord. We have a right to our quota, but not more. Prabhupada says the root of all the strife in the world is people are claiming to be owners and controllers of more than they deserve. He's different from everything created. This idea that the Creator, if you create something, then actually, one of the things is, when we create something, there's two things. We become transformed by that. Because we have to put our energy into it, we have to spend money and attention, and some of us, it goes in there. And we feel that attached to that creation. Because I did it, I want to sign that painting. I want to make sure I got the copyright on the book. It's my book, right? We make a creation. But Krishna, he's so powerful, he creates everything, but he's not attached to any of it. He says, I'm not transformed at all by the creation, because he's so full in himself. That's really the glory of the Lord. And the fact that he existed before the creation, exists during creation, and exists after the annihilation, that's the definition of the Supreme Absolute Truth. The one who was there before there was anything. As he says, that there's 4 verses coming up, as I mentioned, beginning of text 8, that are said to be the 4 core verses of Bhagavad Gita. There's also 4 core verses of the Bhagavatam, Chatur Shloki Bhagavatam. This is what the original Bhagavatam that Krishna spoke to Brahma, who then expanded on it and taught it to Vyasa, expanded on it and taught it to Shukadev. So the 4 core verses, it begins with the same idea. Aham evasameva gre nanya yat sarasat padam pashtaraham mirechacha yovishishet sosmyaham. He says, before there was anything, aham evasameva gre, before the beginning, agre is the beginning. I existed. Before there was, in other words, when the whole universe was unmanifested, merged in the body of Mahavishnu, and then nothing existed. I existed. And then when everything is manifested, it's only I exist, because it's all my energies and expansions. It's just me in a different form. And then when I draw it all back into it, I'll continue to exist. And therefore, I'm the Supreme Absolute Truth. And then the next phrase is Riteyatam Pratiyeta, is that anything that you see that doesn't appear to be related to me, know that that's just Maya. That's just your ignorance. Everything is related to me. You see? And just as these material elements enter in but don't enter in, they say that I similarly enter into this world but remain aloof in Goloka. Goloka eva nivasatyakilatma bhuta. Krishna's playing 100% of the time. He's in Goloka Vrindavan enacting his pastimes. But then, at the same time, he's in the hearts of everyone as the Super Soul. He's all-pervading, but at the same time aloof. This is only God can do that. And then at the end, he says, the 4th verse, etavad jigyasan tattva jigyasun atmanaha, that the wise person should always inquire into this truth. This it comes up in the Vedanta Sutra, it comes up in the early Bhagavatam, that the whole meaning of our life is to be inquisitive about what is the soul, what is God, how can I discover more about relationship. And so he's saying that in this Chatur Shloki, the last 4th shloka. It says always and everywhere one should be inquiring into this and be focused on this idea. Who is that God and that Krishna? So, and how does he appear? Or why does he appear? Of course, we learned in the 4th chapter that he comes, for various reasons. Mostly when there's so much adharma that's prevalent. Maybe it's so bad now that actually Krishna's going to come personally. We can expect that. He's already come. He's come as Lord Chaitanya. He's here as the holy name. It's our job to manifest him, counteract the evils of the age. It's a test. Anyway, so he appears in his original form, even as a child, with Devaki, It cannot be contaminated. Anything done under the direction of Krishna. So the idea is that we need to align our activities with Krishna's desires, and that's the very essence of bhakti, and then we'll get more and more revelation of Krishna in the heart, internally and externally. Okay, let's do, this next is kind of lengthy purport. We'll save this one for Monday. It's quite a long. So, but I brought my source of old nectar. I'll read another poem. You never know. The internet crowd could just be waiting for the evening's poem. We'll make it a tradition. I picked out something. Let's see. Well, there's this nice little song. A plea from a bee. The refrain. Krishna bhavandam vande manmanasamadakadama payinija patapankachamakadanде. I mean, you can't do that in English. O Krishna, dearest Lord, I bow to you and then entreat, please place the bee of my restless mind in the honey of your lotus feet. Yadapi samadasha vidadapi pashyati nandamanakagaramicam medicham idamacham in the shamyata vajita tadapi kapabhuti vichim. Though even Brahma, deep in trance, cannot achieve his goal, a glimpse of your effulgent toenails, soothing to the soul. Because, O Lord, I've heard of your compassion's endless waves, that very vision is the only boon my poor heart craves. Krishna Bhavandam Vande, O Krishna, dearest Lord, I bow to you and then entreat. Please place to be in my restless mind, in the honey of your lotus feet. Can you explain it, Suresh? Can you explain that one? You heard, you know, Sid. I'm sorry, I shouldn't tease him. O Madhava, despite great effort, I have not attained a drop of pure devotion. This has brought me untold pain. Yet though it seems impossible to ever fill this need, your monumental power gives me hope I shall succeed. Krishna Bhavandam Vande, Manmanasamadakadamapi Nitapatapankachamagadande. O Krishna, dearest Lord, I bow to you and then entreat. Please place to be my restless mind in the honey of your lotus feet. I am of a Lord, Litayada Sanata Nakaladadvadasabharam. Nivasachi Nitya Mahamati Nindinibandan Marunimasaram. Today, eternal Lord, please fix my mind upon your feet, so I may taste the endless mellows, wonderful and sweet. I pray that for eternity my mind may there reside, to relish luscious honey that defeats ambrosia's pride. Krishna Bhavandam Vande, Manmanasamadakadabhaya Mayinitapatapankachamakadan데. Now Prabhupada actually gives a translation of that song in a purport in the first canto. I discovered that along the way. Okay, let's see. Well, this is always a crowd pleaser. The fall and redemption of the soul. We're all somewhere on this parabola. I don't want to lose my place here. This is when we usually get confused between Wednesday and Monday, right? So we'll be okay. I got my marker right here. Where Krishna lives, felicity abounds with pure simplicity, and love and sensibility all serve him with humility. But when a living entity rejects his true identity and adds to stupidity, surrenders to cupidity, he loses all sagacity and with it all capacity to understand reality or curb his sensuality. Abandoning humility, he touts his own ability, forgetting his fragility and fortune's volatility. Immersed in asininity for what seems an infinity of lives devoid of piety, he suffers in anxiety till contact with God's devotee, perhaps of utmost brevity, awakens his affinity for words of the divinity. Perceiving the futility of all his imbecility, the soul regains his sanity and casts away his vanity. Endowed with new humility, he serves with all ability and growing spontaneity his guru and the deity. Regaining his identity, the wayward living entity returns to the fraternity of Krishna for eternity. That's it. We're in this process described there. All right, one more. I love this one. It's got a nice beat to it. Upon his chest is manifest the mark of goddess Shri, and there to rest the best of breeds, a temple for the bees who worship him by singing hymns that limn his loving play. Do you know the word limn? L-I-M-N, not L-I-M-B, L-I-M-N. Yes, L-I-M-N means to describe. It has related to the word illumine, limb, and it rhymes with him. Upon his chest is manifest the mark of goddess Shri, and there to rest the best of breeze, the temple for the bees, who worship him by singing hymns that limn his loving play, while Shri Hari most gleefully acclaims the way they pray. For Braja's love-mad milkmaids and for all the Brahmins' wives, Shri Krishna is the ultimate good fortune in their lives. His sandal paste anointed limbs bedim the full moon's glow. Unto the lotus feet of Shri Hari I bow down low. Okay, one more quick one. This one I forgot for a while. This is from Mukundamala. This is a book written way before Lord Chaitanya, in the 6th century, something by a king named Kulashekar. Karatadana Saroje Kante Man Netramine, Shamamushi Bujavici, Vyakole Gada Marge, Harisadasiva Gaya Pia Tejo Jalaugham, Bhavamantapati Kinna Kleshamadya Chajami. The desert of this world is scorching me, exhausting me with endless misery. But now I see the perfect remedy. I'll dive into the lake of Sri Hari. The lotuses that grow within that pool are Krishna's hands and feet, so soft and cool. The fish there are his eyes, which ridicule a pair of most exquisite, brilliant jewels. His arms with graceful motions ever make delightful waves in that unfathomed lake. Its water is his splendor. Let me take deep draughts of it, my burning thirst to slake. If you desire relief from misery and wish to get perfection easily, then take to heart my simple remedy and dive into the lake of Sri Hari. Hare Krishna. And on that note, we'll adjourn and get a beautiful vision of Radha Giridhari, Gauranatai and Jagannath Baladev Subhadraji. And if we really look closely, we'll see Giriraj also. Giriraj. Govardhan.